Double D and his sexy, sexy numbers. What's on the agenda for today, buddy?
All right. First, I would like to make an announcement. We usually we for the past few weeks we've been doing leaderboard updates as well as forecast updates. We are going to be limiting that to once a month, where the forecast will be at the beginning of the month, and we're going to review the leaderboard at the end of the month and see where my prediction is, whether it's right or close to or accurate or wrong, and we'll review why it's right and wrong. But this week, other weeks will be like other topics, like how the a person's average, a competitor's average changed through the years, and other topics that we will discuss to keep it more exciting and more fresh throughout the entirety of the show. So for this week, Frenchie asked me behind the scenes, since because of last week, we did categories, how frequent a category appeared for the last 3 years in each division. And he asked me, is like, are there any categories that are surface level, like very like easy questions that you can be asked in a specific category left? Now with singles, you really can't do that because the frequency of the change of categories happens too frequent. Same thing with teams, and there's some categories that don't even get mentioned anymore. So it's very difficult to get surface level questions from those categories. Star Wars, same problem because it's such a deep dive right off the bat that you really have to know your Star Wars in order to answer these questions. But IG is in that Goldilocks zone where it's been around for long enough and have a consistent amount of categories where we can actually kind of interpret the data a little bit to form this to answer this question. So let's bring up the graphic. Now, last week we said that Wizarding World, which is Harry Potter and the Fantastic Beasts franchise, they appear the most. So obviously those movies are going to be very on the high end of deep dive. You really have to know your Harry Potter movies and Fantastic Beast movies in order to answer these questions, and I think that makes sense. MCU and Marvel have been combined this season because there's influx of new categories this season. So MCU and Marvel movies are combined. So those are going to be very deep dive as well. Same thing with, I think, DCU and DC films and Middle Earth. Yeah, you got to know your Middle Earth if you're going to get that category. The other categories that I have listed here is movie release dates, who said it, scores and soundtracks. Those are very specific categories, and you got to know those really are deep dive. Those are probably some of the toughest ones, and that's why they don't appear as much because people try to avoid it. Now, the next category that's on the far left, Alien versus Predator, Planet of the Apes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Transformers. These are new categories that haven't appeared yet in IG. We did see Planet of the Apes appear last night with Chance Ellison versus Brendan Meyer. And if you've seen the movies, they were really easy to answer if you've seen it. I will say that you have to see the movies in order to answer it, and you can kind of figure out if you go to multiple choice. So I feel that, Alien versus Predator, those movies, Alien versus Predator, Planet of the Apes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, and Transformer movies, and others like that, where there are specific franchises, very narrow categories, very specific franchises, and they're newer. Those are going to be the categories that you're going to be looking for. So we can take that down now. So if you are a competitor in this division, and you are in any division, if you are looking for surface level questions, your best bet is probably looking for newer categories that are very specific franchises, such as Alien vs. Predator, Transformers, and Teenage Mutant Turtles, because they haven't been introduced yet. So what are your thoughts, Maple Dan, on this?
Well, mostly I wanted to bring up that, yes, the Planet of the Apes movie questions were, on the easier side, but it was also rolling that category in the singles division rather than the IG one. And we saw that earlier in singles with a Middle Earth slice being rolled, and that was relatively the same thing. Was just like
I found it very difficult, but that's
like
just
well like I found one of the questions to be very difficult, but having watched those movies many times, I happen to know the answers to most of the
Okay.
others. So it's kind of a thing. And Ben Goddard also mentioned he would have loved to get a Middle Earth in singles, because those questions are for the fans of the series and for any IG player very easy to hit. So like those categories are going to be immense like strengths for IG specific players in the singles division, more than I think they will be in the IG.
very good point. Because I mean, I haven't seen the Middle Earth franchise in a while, and I mean, I like them, but it's not like I'm like reading all the books and like I am with Harry Potter. So you're probably right. So maybe that will be a bit advantage in singles. Like if you're a Harry Potter fan and Harry Wizarding World appears in singles or teams, maybe there'll be surface level questions there too. So it really depends on what questions get asked. But I feel that if they are going to be asked, and it has been around for a while, it's going to be a deep dive. You have to know your stuff. But I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. This is just what this is with statistics. We never prove anything. We just see things as likely. So it may be true, but it's also possible that it's not true.
And also there's the figure of like they keep adding just as many categories to the singles division. Soon we're going to have so many of those, like with the new amount of new ones they added this year, you can always do like a Ben Bateman thing of picking a couple of slices and really nailing them down and pulling them out as surprises. And I'd love to see that start to happen in the IG a little bit with these introductions of new franchises. And like the swashbuckling adventure slice is a great example of that.
Yes.
Like just them being able to kind of find a new niche, and you can pick up that category, and it's more than 5 movies, which every IG competitor is watching the TMNT series, because it's small, it's a subset of movies. You study that and you ace those questions.
Yeah, exactly.
But swashbuckling adventure is a bit of a larger beast to tackle all at once. But if you're already a fan of one of the series, you just need to watch the other one. And I'd love to see some more competitive edges come out in the IG this year, and I think they will.
Yeah, and we actually do have a lot of categories in singles and teams as of right now. Of course, some of them have been retired. But when I was compiling the list last week, I mean, it was like a mile long. I had to actually combine like all the decades together. I had to combine individual actresses together, all the individual actors together, individual directors together, and those were the top 5 in both teams and singles. So it's and there's a lot of actors and actresses and directors to pull questions from, and that could be, you can look at IMDb. Their list of top wrong, so you're increasing your range as well for those categories. So,
and now they've started to like mix up the round 1 categories as well on a consistent basis. So you can't even do what Sam Levine did back in the day and really study your weakness in animated, knowing that there's always an animated question coming up. Now,
I mean,
now we've got.
I did see that improve that change, and I'm like, yeah, there's always an anime, there's always a mixed bag, there's always comedies. It's like, yeah, it's kind of repetitious at this point, but they are mixing it up, and I like that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they pull up in future segments, because some of them have been real great questions.
You want to hear something funny?
the mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.